Hello, my name is Ethan, and today I want to share something that changed my life forever. They say some people are just lucky. They say success just happens for the chosen ones. But the truth is much deeper and far more powerful. Success is not a stroke of luck. It's sweat, sacrifice, and silent effort when no one is watching. If you've been waiting for luck to change your life, maybe it's time to stop waiting and start working. Let me share with you 3 powerful truths that prove success is not luck. It's hard work every single day. When I was in school, I used to believe that success only came to those who were born special. You know, the type, the students who never studied but still got perfect marks. The athletes who seemed to be naturally strong and fast. The artists who could draw beautiful pictures without ever practicing. I thought they were just lucky. I thought life had chosen them and ignored the rest of us. There was a boy in my class named Aaron. Everyone admired him. He was smart, charming, and incredibly talented. While the rest of us struggled to understand the lessons, Aaron could answer every question the teacher asked. I used to sit behind him, silently wishing I had his brain. I felt invisible in comparison. One day, we had a math exam. I had studied for hours and practiced dozens of problems. Aaron, as usual, hadn't studied at all. He laughed and said, "Why waste time? I already know everything." I was nervous, but I kept quiet. The next week, when the results came out, something surprising happened. I had scored higher than Aaron. At first I thought it was a mistake, but then I realized my hard work had finally paid off. Aaron was shocked too. He looked at my paper and said, "I don't get it. How did you beat me?" I just smiled. Inside, something changed forever. That small moment taught me something that would guide the rest of my life. Talent can win the short game, but consistency wins the long game. The real battle begins. After high school, I decided I wanted to become a writer. That may sound strange, but writing gave me peace. When I wrote stories, I felt like I could be anyone, go anywhere, and do anything. But there was one problem. I wasn't good at it. My first stories were embarrassing. My grammar was weak. My sentences were too long. My characters were boring. I sent my stories to magazines and websites, hoping someone would like them. They didn't. I got rejection after rejection. Some editors didn't even bother replying. Others sent cold copy-paste messages like, "Thank you for your submission. Unfortunately, it is not what we're looking for." Each rejection felt like a punch to the heart. I almost gave up. I told myself, maybe I'm not talented enough. Maybe I'm wasting my time. But then I remembered the lesson from school. I remembered how I had beaten Aaron, not because I was smarter, but because I had worked harder day after day. So I made a decision. I promised myself, I will write every single day. No matter what, even if no one reads it. Even if it's bad. Even if I feel tired or sad, I will write. That promise changed everything. Building a new life. One word at a time. I woke up early each morning and wrote for an hour before work. I stayed up late and wrote at night, even when I was exhausted. I read books about writing. I watched videos. I studied the work of great writers. Slowly, my stories improved. At first, the changes were small. A better sentence here. A more interesting character there. But over time, those small changes added up. People started noticing. A few friends began asking to read my stories. Then one of them shared a piece on social media. A stranger messaged me and said, "Your story made me cry." That message brought tears to my eyes. It was the first time someone outside my circle appreciated my work. That was the day I realized God was growing. Not because of luck, Not because of talent, but because of consistency. What people don't see, many people think success is fast and glamorous. They see the end result: a book on a shelf, a speech on a stage, a medal around someone's neck. But they don't see the journey. They don't see the late nights, the failures, the boring routines, the lonely hours. They don't see the days when you stare at a blank page and wonder if you're wasting your life. They don't see the times when your friends go out and have fun, while you sit at home chasing a dream no one believes in but you. They don't see how many times you wanted to quit, but didn't. Consistency is boring. It's not exciting like talent, but it's powerful. Like water dripping on a rock. It seems like nothing is happening, but over time, it shapes mountains. Real-life examples that inspire me. Whenever I felt discouraged, I looked at people who had succeeded through consistent effort. Take Kobe Bryant. He wasn't just talented, he was obsessed with practice. He would wake up at 4 a.m. to train every single day. While others relied on talent, he relied on discipline. Or look at J.K. Rowling. She was a single mother on welfare, writing in coffee shops with a baby next to her. She was rejected by 12 publishers, but she kept writing. Or Thomas Edison, who failed 1,000 times before creating the light bulb. When asked how he felt about failing, he said, "I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps." These stories remind us, the world rewards those who don't give up. My turning point: after 5 years of daily writing, I finally got a call from a small publishing house. They wanted to publish one of my short stories in a printed book. I couldn't believe it. It wasn't a big deal for the world, but it was everything to me. That little success gave me the strength to keep going. I wrote more. I published more. Today, I've published 4 books, spoken at writing workshops, and built a small online community of readers who wait for my stories. And whenever someone says, "You're lucky," I just smile. Because they didn't see the years I spent in silence. The years I showed up even when I didn't feel like it. They didn't see how many times I failed and tried again. What I want you to know: maybe you're like how I was. Maybe you feel average. Maybe you think you're not smart enough, talented enough, or lucky enough to succeed. Let me tell you something: you don't have to be the best. You just have to be consistent. Do a little every day. Write a little, read a little, practice a little, learn a little. You won't see results immediately. That's okay. Success is a slow process, but quitting won't speed it up. Fall in love with the routine. Fall in love with the daily effort. Trust the process. Because one day, the results will command, they will feel like magic to others. But you'll know the truth. It wasn't magic, it was effort, it was consistency. Final message from me: consistency is not glamorous. It's not exciting, but it is the quiet force behind every great success. I wasn't the smartest student. I wasn't the most talented writer. But I showed up. I stayed in the game when others gave up, and that made all the difference. So, to anyone listening, don't wait for motivation. Build discipline. Don't wait for luck. Create habits. Because at the end of the day, it's not about being gifted, it's about being consistent. And if there's one thing I've learned about success, it's this: the world only celebrates the results, but success is really built in the dark. Let me take you back to a time when I truly understood what that meant. It was 2017. I had just lost my job. I was 29 years old, married, and broke. I had nothing in my bank account and bills piling up on the kitchen counter. My wife, Sarah, did her best to stay strong, but I could see the fear in her eyes every time we checked the mailbox. The world around me felt like it was moving forward, and I was standing still. No job, no income, no idea what to do next. But I had one thing left inside me, a dream. Years ago, I had started learning about digital design. I enjoyed creating logos, editing photos, designing websites. It was just a hobby then, something I did for fun after work. I never thought of turning it into a business. But when I lost my job, I had no choice. I had to turn my skill into something that could support my family. At first, I felt hopeful. I thought, maybe I can land some freelance jobs. Maybe someone will give me a chance. I set up a profile on freelancing websites. I shared my small portfolio. I sent proposal after proposal. And for 3 whole months I got nothing. No replies. No jobs. Not even a thank you message. I started to feel worthless. The doubt came crawling in like a shadow. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe this was a mistake. The silent hours begin, but one night, I was sitting alone in our tiny living room. It was 2 a.m. Sarah was asleep in the next room. The lights were off. The whole world was quiet. I was staring at my laptop screen, exhausted, defeated. I was about to close it and give up. Then I paused, and something in me whispered, try one more time. So I opened YouTube and searched, how to grow as a freelance designer. That small decision changed everything. I found tutorials, interviews, design challenges. I discovered people who had started from nothing, just like me, and built their way up. I listened to their stories. And I saw one thing in common. They all worked hard when no one was watching. That night, I made a decision that would change my life. I told myself, from now on, I'll treat this like a real job. Even if no one is paying me yet, I'll act like I'm getting ready for success. So I created a schedule. I woke up at 6 a.m., studied design from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., practiced creating fake logos and websites from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., took a break to rest. Then practiced again from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. and from 10 p.m. until sometimes 3 a.m. I sent out job proposals. Nobody saw it. Nobody clapped. Nobody said, "Good job, Ethan." But I kept going. The invisible grind. I started tracking my hours. In the first month alone, I worked over 300 hours without earning a single cent. I was tired, but I kept reminding myself, these invisible hours will someday be the reason someone calls me successful. I started improving. My designs got sharper. I created 50 practice logos for fake companies. I redesigned websites just for practice. I watched lectures, joined free communities, and asked for feedback. Still, no clients. Then, in month 4, it happened. I got a message from a small bakery in New York. They had found one of my logo designs on an online forum. It was for a pretend coffee shop called Brew and Bloom. The message said, "Hey, I saw your design. It's beautiful. Could you make one like this for our bakery? How much would you charge?" I stared at the message for 5 minutes, frozen. It was happening. Someone had noticed the work I did in silence. Work I wasn't paid for. Work I had created during those lonely nights when everyone else was asleep. I replied nervously, gave a price, and hoped for the best. They agreed. It was just $50, but it was my first paid project. That $50 felt like $5,000. The climb starts hereafter. I didn't stop. With that one project, I built a new portfolio. I created a proper website. I took screenshots, testimonials, and started showcasing my progress. Still, 80% of my time was spent working alone, with no guarantee of reward. I worked while my friends partied. I worked while my neighbors slept. I worked through headaches, anxiety, and stress. But I kept showing up. 3 months later, I got a $300 project. then a $700 website redesign, then $1,000, $1,500, and finally, in less than a year, I was earning more than my old full-time job. People around me started noticing. They said, "Wow, Ethan, you're so lucky." I smiled, because they didn't see the nights I cried quietly into my pillow. They didn't see the countless proposals I sent, the unpaid projects, the hours and hours of learning and practicing while the world ignored me. They saw the result, but they didn't see the work in the dark. The truth behind every overnight success. We love to believe in overnight success, but the truth is, there's no such thing. What we call overnight is really just a quiet, long road filled with failure, doubt, learning, practice, discipline. None of it is glamorous. People only see the tip of the iceberg. They don't see the foundation beneath it. Behind every great athlete is 10,000 hours of practice. Behind every best-selling author is a folder full of rejected manuscripts. Behind every successful business is a garage, a kitchen table, or a dusty room where someone kept going when the world wasn't watching. Why the silent hours matter most, you see. It's easy to work when people are watching. It's easy to show up when you get applause. But the true test of character is what you do when no one is watching. Do you still put in the work? Do you still show up? Do you still keep going? Because those hours, those boring, lonely, invisible hours are the ones that build your future. When I had no clients, I studied design theory. When I had no feedback, I gave myself feedback. When I had no money, I invested time, and slowly, quietly, success came not with fireworks, but with faithful effort. Now life has changed, but the lesson remains today. I run my own small design studio. I've trained a team. I've helped businesses around the world. I've spoken at design workshops and even taught a class at a local college. People see my work and say, "You're talented." But here's the truth. I wasn't talented. I was desperate. I was hungry. I was determined. I worked when no one was watching, and that's where success was built. A message to you: maybe you're reading this, and you're in that same dark place I was. Maybe you're building something. Writing a book, practicing your English, preparing for an exam, starting a business, learning a new skill, and maybe no one sees you. No one encourages you. No one claps. Let me tell you this. Keep going. Every quiet hour you spend today is building a future the world will admire tomorrow. Your silence is not empty. It's powerful. One day, they'll see your success and call you lucky. But you'll know it was built in the dark. And if you've followed my story so far, you know I believe success is not luck, it's hard work. But there's another piece to the puzzle, one that most people fear, avoid, and misunderstand. It's called failure. For a long time, I was afraid of failure. I thought it meant I wasn't good enough. I thought failure meant I had no future, that I should quit, that maybe my dreams were just illusions. But today, I know better. Because failure didn't destroy me. It trained me. Let me take you back to a time that nearly broke me and how it shaped me into the person I am today. The dream that almost died after building a small freelance design business. I had a new dream, to launch my own startup. I had this big idea to create a platform where small business owners could get affordable branding and design services from freelancers around the world. A marketplace where talent met opportunity. I was excited. I had a plan. I gathered savings, talked to developers, and spent 6 months building the platform. I called it Design Nest. I created the branding, wrote the content, set up the systems. I even hired 2 people to help me with customer support. I was all in. When launch day came, I couldn't sleep the night before. I imagined people signing up, businesses finding freelancers, and the world noticing this fresh idea. I clicked publish. The website went live. And nothing happened. No traffic, no clients, no signups. I thought maybe it would take a few days, so I waited. Then I started advertising. I spent $500 on online ads. I posted in communities. I sent cold emails. Still nothing. In 2 months, only 3 users signed up. One was my cousin. The other 2 were friends. I begged to test the site. I had invested my savings, my energy, and my belief into this dream, and it failed. I cried that week. I sat in the kitchen at 2 a.m., head in my hands, wondering what went wrong. The breaking point, I felt like a complete loser. How could I have failed so badly? How could I have been so stupid? For days, I didn't open my laptop. I ignored emails. I avoided people. I felt embarrassed, like I had let everyone down, my wife, my friends, even myself. But one morning, something happened that changed everything. I went to the grocery store to buy milk and bread. At the counter, the cashier, an old man named Mr. Harris, looked at me and said, "Haven't seen you in a while, Ethan. You doing okay?" I hesitated. Then I said, "Not really. I launched a business. It failed. I feel like I've wasted everything." He nodded slowly, then said, "Ah, so you're learning." I blinked. "Learning?" He smiled. "You thought you were failing, but you're learning. Trust me, son. The pain will pass, but the lessons will stay." I walked home in silence, thinking about his words. Learning, not failing. That one sentence flipped a switch in my brain, turning pain into practice. That night, I pulled out a notebook and wrote a simple question: what went wrong? And I began to answer it honestly. I launched too early. I didn't research my target audience. Well, I didn't test my idea before building the whole thing. I didn't create a marketing plan in advance. I relied too much on hope, and not enough on strategy. As I wrote, I realized something shocking. I had learned more in these 60 days of failure than in years of playing it safe. That failure was not a waste. It was an education, and suddenly, I wasn't ashamed anymore. I was curious. I wanted to understand, to grow, to do better next time. That's when I truly understood. Failure isn't the end, it's training. The fighters vs. the quitters. Most people experience failure once and quit forever. They let that pain define them. But winners, real winners, don't quit. They don't pretend failure never happened. They face it, learn from it, and come back stronger. I started studying stories of successful people. And you know what I found? They all failed. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first job as a news anchor. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination. Steve Jobs was kicked out of his own company. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. They all tasted failure, but they didn't give up. They used failure as a lesson, a tool, a teacher, so I decided to do the same. Training begins. I didn't relaunch Design Nest. That idea was done. But I took the knowledge I gained and applied it to my freelance work. I began offering branding packages tailored to startup founders. I created educational content to help them avoid the mistakes I had made. I started speaking on podcasts, writing blog posts, sharing my lessons openly. The response shocked me. People loved the honesty. They respected the fact that I had failed and kept going. That I wasn't selling a fantasy but offering real guidance. One of those blog posts caught the attention of a startup incubator. They invited me to speak to a group of new entrepreneurs. After the talk, one of them approached me and said, "Your story saved me." I was about to quit. I went home that day, and for the first time, I was thankful for my failure. It had given me a voice, a message, a mission, the pattern of growth. As the months passed, I noticed a pattern in my life. Every time I grew, every time I improved, every time I leveled up, it was always after a failure. Not after success. Not after easy wins. After falling and getting back up, I began to welcome failure. Not because it felt good, but because I knew what it meant. It meant I was pushing limits. It meant I was trying new things. It meant I was growing. What failure teaches that success never can. Failure teaches humility. It teaches resilience. It teaches strategy, discipline, patience. Success makes us comfortable, but failure? It makes us sharp. It's in failure that we learn who we really are, what we really want, and what we're willing to do to rise again. A message for you maybe. You've failed recently. Maybe you feel like quitting. Maybe you think you're not cut out for your dream. Please listen carefully. You are not a failure. You are in training. Every expert was once a beginner. Every champion was once a loser. Every master was once a mess. Don't let failure close the door. Let it open a new one filled with learning, self-awareness, and fire. Failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of it. The final word. I've failed many times. In school, in business, in life, but each failure trained me to focus, to fight, to improve, to believe in myself again. Today, people see the results, the business, the books, the life I've built, but behind it all, there's a graveyard of failed attempts, broken plans, and painful lessons, and I wouldn't trade them for anything, because they made me who I am, and they can make you who you are meant to be. So next time you fail, don't say, "Why me?" Say, "What is this teaching me?" And then get back up. Dust yourself off, and keep going. Because your failure isn't the end. It's the beginning of your training.